Peace, and welcome to another episode of Elevate the Mic. I'm your host, Max Mupese. Today, I'm joined by a guest who's a music producer, a DJ, a radio host, and somebody who deserves a lot of respect in these streets of Montreal. Let us all welcome DJ Pro V. How you doing, man?
Thanks for having me, Max. Appreciate you.
Love. So how you been doing, man? How's everything on your end?
Everything's great. Keeping busy. You know, music makes life beautiful, and yeah, man.
Got it.
As a quick answer to that question, you know.
I like that.
Yeah.
And if you were to describe the year of 2024 for you, like in a few words, or how would you describe that year?
The first word that comes to mind is accomplishment. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And is there a reason why you call it accomplishment, or you say it accomplishment?
Well, something that's been a main focus of my life is records. Being a DJ, being a producer. When I produce my music, I use records to sample or to use as source material, and I also DJ with records. You know, so whether I'm doing the radio, it might if I might choose to use vinyl, or if I'm going out to do a gig like last night, I was DJing a couple different events, and both events required, you know, to bring some vinyl and represent like that. So records are a huge part of it, and this year was for me putting my first record together. The album was done last year, but this year I put the record together. And when I'm saying record, the actual vinyl, physical vinyl. Right. So to have my first vinyl pressed this year was a huge accomplishment. To have thousands of records at the crib and nothing's got your name on it, you know, it's inspiring. And so to have that one, and then I got a second one last night, it's beautiful, you know.
Congratulations, man. That's huge. And let's bring it back to the early beginnings. If I'm not mistaken, you were born and raised in Montreal?
Yeah.
Grew up in NDG?
Yes.
And if you were to describe your childhood in NDG in a few words, how would you describe it?
In a few words, I'm grateful for the childhood that I had. I feel lucky. And yeah, I guess those are the first two words that come to mind, you know? Yeah.
You know, NDG is, like, I grew up there too. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
When you think about the amount of people from different backgrounds you meet, and sometimes you never know, you may learn a new language. So would you say, was there a specific moment in your childhood that shaped your character?
Like a moment in particular?
Yeah.
Like, to shape my character. Wow. It's got a little bit general. Do we want to like talk about more music, or just kind of anything?
Yeah, a little bit more music. But
a little more music.
Yeah. Or even if you feel free to share.
Well, something that was important growing up, like music was always important. So one thing that my father, being Trinidadian, he would take my mother and I to New York and to Toronto to go to Caravana, to go to Labor Day weekend, and just experiencing the music from the people and understanding my father's lineage of music, like what he came from Trinidad, and going to carnival and everything, and bringing that, you know, having those carnival, like those experiences of going to those cities and experiencing that, and also being really young, and my dad bringing me to Trinidad when I was like 5 years old. Those things were definitely influential to understanding that music is really a huge part of life. You know, that just really goes along with it's part of everything, kind of, you know.
True.
I guess that's the first thing I think of, like way back music-wise, you know. But then there's things like one time for Christmas, I received a guitar, and it's nothing I ever wanted or ever asked for, but it was like my parents giving me this instrument to better myself. It's not just sports, and it's not just school. Like, you have to do these other things on the side, and it's going to make you better, and you'll understand later on. And it did. You know, it gave me a foundation for music that still stuck with me until today.
Got it.
You know, like that's the foundation of me doing music.
Got it.
Yeah.
You play the guitar, right? Also, if I'm not mistaken.
I played the guitar from 8 to 16 pretty seriously. It's funny, we're right across the street from where I had a guitar teacher, and she was accredited from the McGill Conservatory of Music, and so she used to take me and to do exams every summer. I don't know if they still do that now, but so when I was in grade 7, she took me to do the grade 9 exam, and when I was in grade 9, I had a high school diploma of McGill Conservatory of Music doing acoustic, classical Spanish guitar, sight reading on spot, play these scales, play this study, play this piece. And you have to know it by heart, and if you're looking at papers, you lose points, and so like that really was that was a foundational thing, because I was outside of school, that was outside of me just leaving the crib to go play at the park, or do my sports or whatever it may be, so.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know what's interesting? Well, one of the reasons why I like to ask that question is to know how you were able to maneuver throughout your journey, or even in your career, to certain points, right? And what happens is that sometimes going through certain moments that shape your character, those become you end up having transferable skills, and you end up having ways to create in a different manner. And what I get from it is like you were always ahead of your time. Well, it helped you become ahead of your time to a certain extent.
Yeah, helped me in my time. It's helped me with everything, because that kind of discipline helps you in all angles. School is school. You got to do school, and it's
Trust me.
Sports, it's really at your, if you like that and you're into it, your parents might sign you up, but at a certain age, it's up to you if you want to really do that, But putting a kid, giving a kid guitar, piano lessons, that's a whole other, you're opening their brain to something different. And like you said, transferable skills, it's really very applicable, it's something that, like I said, up until about 16, 17, I was playing guitar. I started going to CJEP. My guitar teacher had gotten pregnant, and so it was just, everybody was doing different things. It was a different time of life. I got busy with other things, and then hip hop just took over.
Speaking of hip hop, when did you realize that hip hop was more than just, when did you realize that hip hop was a way of life for you, like a lifestyle?
Lifestyle being
just
like, I can maybe live off of this, or well, in the mid 2000s, I was in a group called Black Sash, and we were talking about Widget before.
Yes.
Widget was in the
Widget.
group. Yeah, shouts to Widget for sure. And so we were like 5, 6 people in the group. Widget was in the group, and I'm saying Widget because Widget's the person who I would go downtown and sell the most CDs with. So we had our album, we made physicals, and we had our CDs, and we would basically go meet up at like Atwater, St. Catherine, and then we'd have our headphones and our Discmans and just walk down St. Catherine and approach people. Do you like music?
Just like that?
Yeah. Do you like? Because first you say, do you like hip hop? And people would you give people a chance to say no. Because this is a different time. We're the ones with the baggy pants and the baggy this and the look that not a lot of people have, right? So you just got to start off with, hey, do you like music?
Yeah.
And then you give them the headphones, and then hopefully they'll listen to your CD, and then hopefully they'll buy the CD, And that was us. We made a living doing that for a whole summer.
Damn.
And that was probably 2004, 5, or 6. I forget exactly what year, but it's those times, and that was huge to know, wow, we made some music, and then we pressed up these CDs, and we can just go, and it's like a job, and we're having fun just doing, it was a good time, and it was a real eye opener for that, because and like I said, that time I was just rapping. It was just, it doesn't matter what really we were doing, but like that, I wasn't even DJing, I wasn't producing. At that point, it was just the raw, like, I just want to be a part of this. And the people in my crew were all doing the same thing, and then so I guess that's a moment when I kind of really, and that was because I guess the reason I'm saying I was rapping is because like now I'm not doing any of that, and I'm still living, so
true.
Transferable skills,
That's
like
it.
yeah.
Which is interesting. Were you guys sitting down, writing your plans, or it's just like execution? You know what? Let's just go out there and talk to people. How did you guys go about it?
Like when we had the CDs and it was
Yeah,
let's just go down, and because you had to hit the pavement. You couldn't. There was no social media.
True.
There was, and it's not to sound like that old guy, like, oh, there was no social media, but like,
it's a fact.
you had to hit the pavement. It was like, okay, we got these CDs, let's just go. Boom. We have to go talk to people. You have to just approach people. You have to hit up all the tourists. There's a lot of tourists walking down St. Catherine in the middle of the summer, you know. So it was just really talk to everybody, anybody. Don't not talk to somebody because they have a suit on.
Right.
Because that's, you know what I mean, or don't, you know. So just. And that was a good step, you know. That was a good step. Yeah.
That's it. Now, you also are a radio host. Are you currently doing both shows, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah.
Okay. So could you tell us how that idea came about, and when did you specifically, Widget and Tokyo became radio hosts together?
So there's All the Way Live Radio, Wednesday from 3 to 5, and there's Off the Hook Radio, Wednesday from midnight to 2 a.m. The first show that I was a part of was Off the Hook Radio.
Yes.
So that's DJ Buddha Blaze, Flo, and at that time it was DJ Buddha Blaze and Flo. And Orion Revolution had just stopped doing the radio because they were together doing it from 1999 till 2012 or 2011 or so. So in the fall of 2012, I got invited by Buddha Blaze to do a guest mix. He was looking for people to do guest mixes on the radio show. So I submitted a mix. I did a Queens mix, and went to the radio, played, and you know, he played the mix and everything. And he was like, hey, you know, if you want to come back next week and play instrumentals during the rap hour, half hour, because it's a 2-hour show, and from 1 to 1:30, we still do freestyle half hour, you know. So he was like, if you want to come back next week and play some instrumentals, come through, you know. And I was like, yeah, I'm down for sure. I'll take any opportunity I can, because at this time it had been a few years that I was DJing and building my craft, and I felt like I was ready to step out, you know. It's kind of a different time, and also, you know, the transferable skills. For me, it was learning guitar, and you had to practice every day, and so I wouldn't just go out and say I'm a guitar player, you know.
Right.
So that took years of practice and years of work. So I took that discipline, applied it to the production and the DJing, and then at a certain point I felt comfortable to say, yeah, I can DJ and I can put together mixes, and I got enough records where I can cohesively put some themes together. And so when that opportunity came through, yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll be there next week for sure. And then I haven't stopped doing the radio since. So it was do the mix one week, come back next week, and I've been part of that show ever since. And that was fall 2012.
And you never felt like you were overwhelmed with what you were doing, because would you say both shows kind of aligned in a certain manner, or even the idea of having both shows was like, okay, you know what, I'm capable of DJing, and I understand the concept of both shows.
And it was and it's different too, because on Off the Hook, my role, it's like, we always talk and we always have conversations, so everybody participates in that part of the show, but my role is to play the instrumentals from 1 to 1:30. And I started bringing Widget to the radio. I was like, yo, come by and freestyle, come through and freestyle. And then he started bringing Tokyo. And then they were doing a program, I forget I might be mistaken if it was through West Haven. It might not be through West Haven. It might have been through another association. But basically there was a community association that was doing a program with CKUT. And they wanted to fill up a spot. There was, Lion's Den. That was the name of the show that was on before All the Way Live.
On CKUT, I remember that. Yeah.
So every Wednesday from 3 to 5, it was Lion's Den, but schedules weren't working out anymore, and they needed to fill up the spot, so they had the community program have people come through and fill up the spot. And Widget in Tokyo had an opportunity to fill up that spot, and other people would show up as well, and they invited me and other DJs got invited, but nobody showed, so I ended up being the only DJ, and Widget and Tokyo ended up being the two hosts after a while of people coming through or whatever. And CKUT really liked our vibe and what we were doing, so we got, like 6 months after that. So this is early 2013.
Got it.
So I'm already familiar with the station. It's been a couple of months. And then after about 6 months of having that spot, they said, you guys have the spot. It's official now. And so,
what I get from your journey is like you showed up. You just showed up every time and seized the opportunity. When you look at a lot of artists or even, creatives these days that tell themselves they need to be put on, they need to have a certain person to vouch for them. What do you think about? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
When you have to have somebody vouch for you?
Yeah, or even somebody looking out for you to give you an opportunity. What makes sense in you? How could you make sense of it in your mind? Like, how do you see that?
You have to be ready for the opportunity. There's a lot of people who know a lot of people. People know more people than they think they know. And there's more connections than we think we have sometimes, but it's really all about just taking those opportunities, being ready for them, and had the opportunity came in 2010 or 2009, maybe I wouldn't have been ready to approach the radio the same way, but
True.
Had it, So it's all about being ready. When you were talking before and saying, it seems like you seize the opportunities. Kind of makes me think of like sports when they have a tryout. It's like you have to go to the tryout and you have to make an impression and be better than other people in order to make the team. And it's not to be negative towards other people.
Whatsoever.
It's just you have to strive and be the best you. So that's been my thing, and that's why when these opportunities come up, if it's something that my soul is like, yes,
I got this.
Yeah, I'll be there.
That's it.
So, and you don't get paid to DJ at CKUT. It's a volunteer. Everybody's there volunteering. So I've been volunteering there for over 12 years, twice a week. My Wednesdays are basically dedicated to that, and and I fully accept that because the opportunities that have come from putting in that time are the wonderful things that I said when how we started. Like, music brings beautiful opportunities, and like a week ago, I found myself opening for Mobb Deep.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying it for that. It's just like, to me, I don't care about anybody in the world. It's like, to me, I was on stage watching Mobb Deep, like doing a sound check. Havoc was bobbing his head to my beat. I got to meet these guys and got records signed, and not the first time either, but like, to have that opportunity to DJ before they take the stage, to perform before they take the stage, to get that love is like, I was like, wow, like, I worked really hard for this, and I could not even pay for this. There's no amount of money that could pay for me to be standing where I am right now, and I just stood there on stage and just enjoyed that moment. I had a moment where I just really, and that's why I say, like, accomplishment, you know what I mean? Like that to me was a huge accomplishment. I didn't perform with Mobb Deep. I didn't do tracks with them. It was just the fact that, like, all my hard work put me in a position to be where I was as a fan of hip hop, and that meant a lot to me. And I'm still buzzing from that,
Man, tell me about it, man. That's serious.
Yeah.
Would you say that moment made you think of? Because there's always the saying of, like, success. There's this period of time. It takes a certain period of time. It takes a certain amount of time to get to a certain level, right? And that you will get your lucky break at least 10 years in the game. Would you say that moment made you understand it even better, or how could you define that moment specifically?
There's been a lot of amazing hip hop moments. Like 7 years ago, I got to do an interview with Havoc and LES and Big Noid. So it's like it's been giving back, But in terms of like that, I guess that's the DJ side, and event side. But in terms of the music, I feel like I really honed into my craft in the past couple of years. And, you know, I've been slowly working, slowly putting things out here and there, but I feel like I really had a vision and executed the vision in the best way possible this time around with you know, in the past year or so.
Dope.
I never had the opportunity to really deliver my music with videos. So shout out to Let Me Know for working with me to do that, because what I understood was that when you're able to provide people with videos, it's a whole other experience of your music. You know, it's a whole other way of experiencing your music. It's a whole other way of putting your music out there and giving life to you know, and so that's been a beautiful thing, and to then be able to put that out in the physical with the vinyl, like I mentioned before. These are things that just follow, you know, and it makes sense, you know. It's a natural progression to me, you know.
That's dope. Now, tell us about Big Dogs Only and how the idea came about.
I think the first time I saw Big Dogs Only was, you know, J-Red the Doctor was doing posts, and he would just post a bunch of pictures like a bunch of, you know, one of those Instagram posts where you slide and there's a bunch of pictures of all the homies and stuff, and you just write Big Dogs Only and stuff like that, and then we're all calling each other big dogs as jokes, and you know, but it's real, you know, but it's funny, you know. And then at a certain point, I believe what happened was that RVLR Mags got invited to do a freestyle. I think it was a Sunday Spitters, and instead of him just going to do the freestyle, he invited all the guys, you know, and he was like, you know what, let me get everybody. So obviously I wasn't rapping, but I was there, you know. And so that was kind of bringing the guys together for the first time, because, you know, a lot of them were on Borden's album 12 years ago with 80 Rock and Borden, you know, on 180 Rocks. And then over the years, people have collabed with other people, and then on my North Face album, everybody was on that, plus other people. And then a lot of us were doing videos with Let Me Know, and that was kind of like, we just happened to be all in the same place at the same time a lot of time. It just naturally happened like that. And so I think that's the reason why Mags invited everybody to go and do that freestyle with him. And then not long after that, we organized a show. And the show was just one of the best hip hop shows I've ever been a part of. It's just, like, that's the best show that I ever, like, was ever a part of, but like that wasn't a big, well, yeah, that I contributed to, but not even like, that didn't have a big artist kind of thing.
Right.
You know, it was just us. It wasn't like, oh, we're headlining for, that's what I'm trying to say. It was hard to put that in words, but like that, it was just us. You know, it was like a DJ set from me, and then we perform our thing. Good night, everybody. Have a wonderful night. And it wasn't even a late thing, you know? So we kind of wanted to give that to the people, not have, you know, we all grew up in the Montreal hip hop scene where you're there for hours like, yo, one of these guys gonna get on. And it's like, yo, let's not do that to the people. Let's let them know we're starting at this time kind of sharp, or within that time frame. And we did it like that, and it was a beautiful thing. It was a great show, man. The reception from the people, the energy we got back. We rehearsed for a few weeks prior. It wasn't like, oh, let's just show up and we wing it, you know. It was real, and then all that work was, you know, it just has people asking when the album's gonna drop, or when the, you know, when it, you know. So it was that's a beautiful thing right there, you know.
Ended up being smooth.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
Now, why was it important for you to release the audio book and the seventh summit in 2024?
Well, the 7th Summit was actually released late 2023, like really late, I think end of November or December. And then I continued to drop videos into 2024. But then the physical release was 2024.
Yeah.
That, I think the physical release was, like I said, a natural progression from having it out on, you know, online or whatever, you know. It's like, no, this deserves to be on vinyl. Before I even put that album together, I said to myself, I want to put something together that's worthy of being pressed up. Like, I'm going to be proud to put this on record, you know? And it was close to being like an instrumental album. And then I just kind of kicked down the door and said, you know what? Let me be vulnerable for a moment. Put yourself in a vulnerable position because you never know what's going to come out of it. So just started getting at everybody. You want to be part of this? You want to be part of this? And it became what it was. 30 people, like
That's
around
powerful.
30 people are part of it,
Yeah.
including, you know, art and mixing, mastering, and video, but like over 20 artists. And to me, I feel like it's a very cohesive project. So
Yeah.
that was important. Not sure that answers the 2024 question. Audiobook with Borden.
Yeah.
We definitely took time I took time to give beats to a lot of people, and Borden's one of them. And so we sat down, gave him a bunch of beats, and then a few months later he was like, yo, I got some things written to this beat, to that beat, to the other. And I was like, oh, interesting, you know, because artists will come and choose beats, and you never know where they're going to take things or which ones they're going to actually work on. So I was like, oh, that's interesting, cool. And then it just became, you know, he to me, that was, you know, what I should say is that it was natural making that album because, you know, I'd worked with Borden before. I had done cuts on his album with 80 Rock, Live in the Flesh. Right. And it's something that got recorded at my crib as well. So working together was just naturally gonna happen. Gave him the music, and then I was like, oh, at some point something's gonna happen, but it's nothing that I'm gonna force or push because I don't, you know, music has to come naturally. You know what I mean? And he had everything vision. He's like, okay, it's gonna be these tracks, it's gonna be this order. And he came through to the crib. He recorded everything in one shot on one Pro Tools track. So
it's different, man.
This is like, you know, 80 Rock calls him the rapping robot.
Damn.
So I guarantee if we were to record that album again, it would sound exactly the same, vocally, because it's just, he knows his stuff. He did not have his phone or any paper in front of him. He basically had a drink, a smoke, and the mics in front of him. And then it's like everything's lined up in Pro Tools, like track 1, track 2, track, you know?
Yes.
And you just record everything at once.
One after the other.
So that's natural right there, you know? And then after, he was just kind of like, I think one day we were talking about it. We didn't have a title for anything, you know? But he's like, yeah, it's just kind of like an audio book, you know? Like,
okay.
And then we both were just there laughing the same way that we're laughing right now. And I was like, well, I guess we got the title, man, you know? Like, so.
It's not overthinking. It's right there.
Yeah, and the way that he delivers it too, it's an easy listen, which an audiobook should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not, you know, the chapters aren't like every track had a chapter name. The tracks aren't too long. It's supposed to be easy from beginning to end. And I guess that's the story behind it. I don't know if there was an importance to really release it this year, but it was like, hey, we put it out, and Borden was, you know, something that Borden said is like, hey, you know, last year, him and 80 dropped Live in the Flesh on Dutch's birthday. So Dutch is somebody who was in the hip hop scene in the 2000s, around the 2010, passed away in 2011, I believe. Yeah. And so they honored him on his birthday by dropping it on his birthday last year, and then in 2023. So audiobook was dropped on Dutch's birthday, 2024.
It's honorable, man.
So when Borden said, hey, I'd like to do that, I'm like, hey, man, for sure, I'm with that, you know, especially since you guys did that, and especially from the relationship and the impact that Dutch had on Borden's life. Have to respect that and have to honor that.
Yeah, it's about alignment at the end of the day, right? Like just those relationships are still important, and they still mean something to a point where, like, okay, let me honor that person, and then you never know what could come out of that moment specifically, you know. It could inspire somebody else to do something else, or it can inspire you to create in a different manner, you know. So yeah, kudos to all you guys that produced the album. If I'm not mistaken, in the 7th Summit was mixed and mastered by Merker, right?
Yeah.
Got it. Shout outs to Merker.
Yeah, so I recorded most of the music at my place, at the crib. There's definitely some people who sent in vocals, whether they're outside of the city or just didn't have time to come record. So, but everything got mixed and mastered by Merker. He did a wonderful job with the sonics, and then when the vinyl came out, sounded great. So that was key. That was always the scary part. Is like how's the audio going to transfer into the physical? But everything worked out beautifully. You were talking about producers, so we had 80 Rock, who I've done multiple albums with in the past, instrumental albums. We've done a lot, so like that was definitely somebody who had to be on the album. Sends Beats, somebody who I met at Loop Sessions, who we've connected many times and made a whole bunch of stuff on different samplers at the house. Nicholas Craven.
Shout out to Nicholas Craven, man.
Who even during COVID times, he would hit me up like, yo, you want to make some beats? I'll come by and whatever. So like, definitely somebody who inspires me as well by putting out so many records, and so definitely wanted to have him on the album. Stack Moolah, who has been, part of hip hop as long as this Montreal hip hop thing, as long as I've been there. He's always been there, whether it's the graffiti side, the artistic side, the hip hop side. We've done DJ gigs together. I've had him at the radio a bunch. So like, and I'm so happy that he got back into production, because I was like, nice, because like now it's good to, it made sense to make something together.
Got it.
And shout out to DJ Choice, somebody who I looked up to since I was a kid. Someone else who's from NDG, who produced for Shades of Culture, went on to form Dubmatique and changed the outlook of hip hop in Quebec in general. Soul Pleureur changed everything. It broke down so many barriers across the whole province that couldn't get knocked down before, and people had no choice but to create a hip hop category for awards now, because Dubmatique was winning alternative categories. It's like it had everybody mad. Now we're gonna
like, hey, what's going on, man? Like,
so that's why I say the influence from afar. Someone can inspire you and influence you, and you never even know them. You know what I mean? And then when you get to know them, it's like, wow, like I feel like I've known this person my whole life, and so it was real easy to, even though he's in Toronto now, it's really, really easy to make music. So, I was like, yo, working on this album, whatever. He's like, yeah, I'm not really doing the sampling thing now, so if you could create some sort of sample, it'd be dope. And so I went on the Fender Rhodes, created something, sent it to him, and it was so, when he sent back the beat, I was like, yeah, man, like, we're 90% there, like it was just that simple, So it was good to work with people that I knew it would be simple. And like I said, it's either people I've worked with or people who inspire me, and that goes for the whole album. A lot of the album is my homies. And then the people who aren't close homies, it's like they've inspired me at a certain point in my life, and that was important.
And he automatically understood the vision once you told him what was the purpose behind the album, if I'm not mistaken.
Because I got at a few people pretty quickly and at the same time when I decided to, be vulnerable. And but yeah, people got back pretty quickly and pretty positively. So I was able to start approaching people like, yo, I'm working on this album, and all these people are on the album, and that really spoke volumes and kind of lifted up it's kind of set the bar for the album, because a lot of people are rapping tough on this album, and it's not only like the beat, it's not only the person that influence. I know another influence on them of being an artist and the beat being whatever it is like, oh, so and so's on the album too. Right. Okay, I can't do this halfway. You know what I mean? So all those factors, all those factors are playing together.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now you said vulnerable a few times. If a music producer's watching this or a DJ wants to know how to become vulnerable when it comes down to creating their art, what's the best piece of advice you would give them? Like, I'm a DJ or a producer. I don't know how to be vulnerable exactly.
Well, for me, it was just doing something that was true to me. And even though, like, so the vulnerable step was like, okay, let me put myself in the shoes of, like, I might get rejected. I might, you know, that no one wants to get rejected or feel that rejection or hear a no or whatever, you know. But it was like, you know what, whatever. You have to do that at some point, because you have to be true to you. Are you happy? Are you gonna be happier? Are you gonna be better for having taken a step and putting yourself, you know, like, you're supposed to run 10 miles today. What if you told yourself 12 miles, like, and just did a little bit extra, or just really, you know, like, you have to do that sometimes, you know, and just put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, knowing that it's gonna better you.
That's it.
You know?
Goes back to the word.
I didn't like practicing my guitar for 45 minutes every day when I was a kid, or 30 minutes, or now it's got to be an hour because exams are coming up, so you got to practice an hour a day. Like, it didn't make me happy sometimes, you know. Acquiring the skill and being able to do things was like, that was the satisfaction at the end. But like, all that other stuff, you know. But you gotta just, you know, you have to just push through that, because the final result is going to be what, you know. And now, the final result for me has been so, you know, like I said, accomplishment, that I'm not scared to put myself in the next vulnerable position at all, you know. I'll just throw myself out there if I feel like it's something that I want to do, or that will better me, you know. And I guess with that said, that's what people can take from that, you know. I don't really think, you know, it's not just I'm not telling you to go and just holler at everybody you're a fan of and everybody, because it's like, sometimes you have to develop relationships with people, you know. I'm very lucky to have the radio and hip hop to help me develop those relationships with these people, so that by the time it was time to like make the album, you know, people know where it's coming from. It's not some random person coming at me saying, you know. But I had to do the random thing to hit up a couple people, you know, and maybe that was a little bit, you know, but yeah.
So you always saw the value of nurturing relationships, or even keeping relationships, as important as, you know, the actual reason why you guys met. Like, okay, going to the event, going to...
Yeah, and to me it was like, and a lot of people know me from just being at the radio and DJing for people. So it was never oh, you know what, I'm going to build up all these people in the bank, and in 10 years time I'm gonna ask everybody for a favor. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not that, you know. Just do things from your heart, and then the rest will follow, you know. And not everybody has a path, so like, has the same path as you, you know. And you got to respect that.
True.
You know, you really have to respect that, you know. And when you respect that, people respect your vision too. You know, well, got to take a lot of, put emotion into your music, but don't put emotion into that kind of stuff. You know, I don't know what to call all of that in one word.
Yeah.
Leave that emotion for the creation, you know. But a lot of the stuff after, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know.
Right. Just focus on what you could.
Focus
on what you could control.
It's like money too, you know. I was talking about a homie about this yesterday, and it's just like, we had different backgrounds, and we both love music, and we both are able to live off of music here, there, or another way, you know. And it was all about, like, this never started from wanting to get the money out of it. This all started from wanting to make good music with the homies, you know. And then everything came after that. So it's got to come from a good place. You know? Yeah. My DJing comes from loving hip hop so much that I have to have it on record. And now I want to mix it with this other record that I love so much. It's like, you have to have that, or else it's just gonna come and go. Just, you know, like, it's just gonna come and go, and it's not gonna hold that value. So I'm really lucky to know, to have the awareness that it brings that much value to my life, and it brings me that much happiness, and that it transfers to paying a couple bills at the same time, you know, like that's, you know.
Sick.
I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I still feel like it has everything to do.
You gotta get it off your chest,
Yeah,
man.
you know.
That's your truth at the end of the day,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And speaking of which, because we talked about a lot of well-known names from the city that you have on your album, but one thing I noticed that, well, I was gonna ask you, well, you managed to bring all of these pioneers back on your album, right? We're talking about Blicky, we're talking about Magnum. What kind of feedback are you getting right now from the French and English communities when it comes down to your album?
The French community, with the English community, everybody's just like, wow, you got, you know, like you said, you got Blicky, you got Mags, you got all these people. It's like, so that's just beautiful, you know. That is kind of like, I'm glad you guys are noticing, because all these people should be on an album together, and they should be rapping in the same realm, and they should all be heard in the same space, you know. And that's from me being a fan of these people, you know. So for the English side to notice, for them to be inspired and want to work with, I've seen that when I worked with these people, that people on the French side reached out to these people to work with them. Like French producers getting these guys beats and stuff, and I'm like, that's a beautiful thing.
Domino effect.
Because that's what this, not to say that's what this album is for, it's for a lot of things, but me bringing all these people together, that's one thing that's on the checklist of things to have done, is that somebody who would not have noticed that artist before now knows that artist. Everybody's being cross-promoted, you know what I mean? So that the English side. The French side, the first thing that comes to mind is like, you know, recently I was on the morning Salut Bonjour news, man.
I saw that, man.
Like, I just decided to, cause I you know, shout out to Annie Saleh Poto. She's like, I see her just promoting a lot of hip hop, you know, and a lot of like stuff that like we would mess with, you know. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna reach out to this person, at least let them know that I'm doing this event, and you know, whatever. Just like I reached out to hundreds of people, you know, just invite them, you know. That's what happens over the years. You just end up knowing a lot of people. So it's like, that's just, you know, another one of the people who I thought of to hit up, and person was, you know, she was super polite and was like, you know what, I'm gonna, hopefully if I have time, I'm gonna talk about it on the show. And that's not what I expected. I didn't do it for that, you know, because the music's gonna speak for itself. You can't just convince somebody in a message to go on TV and talk about your music, right? The music has to speak for itself. So I'm aware of that at the moment, and that, you know. So with that said, to end up on the French morning news, where like, this is like the CBCs and the CTVs and the global newses of the French world. To end up on that news before ending up on the CBCs and the CTVs is funny to me, because I'm not part of their world.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I live in Quebec, I live in Montreal, I'm from here, but that's not my world. And to be accepted or even shown in there, to have my record being shown, and they're showing videos, it's like, wow, man, you know?
Yeah.
And then just a lot of that's just one thing. That's the TV thing, which is just like, you know, funny to show your parents, like, I was on, you know.
Right.
But then the other side is just the actual community of a bunch of people in the francophone hip hop community that have been showing love, that are happy that I did that, that are like, yo, you did a track with Choice, did a track with Yvon, you know, you did, you know, you got Rain Man doing, you know, like, you got Rain Man sounding like OG Rain Man, like that stuff to me is like, those are all like huge compliments that, like, man, you know, like,
serious.
That means, like, you know, you can't put a dollar value on that, man, you know.
That's serious, man. No, even speaking of the event, I was like, damn, I didn't go to the event. I saw how packed it was. I'm like, no way. It felt like, it literally looked like a movie. The way you guys had that place packed, and it was album listening, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it was an album listening, but it was a movie, because there's 19 tracks. I did 17 videos, and then I did 2 mock-up videos for the 2 tracks that didn't have videos. I placed all the videos in order of the album, and then between each video, I would put VHS ads that I recorded from the 90s, from VHS, like from old tapes, you know, like not stuff you find on YouTube, like actual, I went through tapes for a long time and found all these things that were either relevant to the music, to Montreal, you know, ads that are coming from Vermont and Burlington talking about Collège Interdec, which is Collège La Salle, you know, like, and like Chateau Versailles and Club Super Sex, Club Crescent, like it's like all these ads, it's like, you know, trying to get people to go to Montreal, but like these ads didn't play on Montreal stations because, you know what I mean? They're trying to get the Americans to come up, right? This played on like NBC, so I had all these random things and like French ads from like hip hop and from the hip hop show on Musique Plus back, you know, not just hip hop in general, but you know, there's actually a show on Musique Plus called Hip Hop, and so yeah, just a lot of things I would have put in between, so everything played like a movie. And so I was telling people like, yo, come watch the movie, and that's what the event was. It was selling the record, playing the whole thing as a movie. So it was amazing to see people captivated with these videos and with the ads, you know, like Pantene Pro V ads. You know, like that's how I get my name from. That's where Pro V's from the shampoo, you know. So like having like a Pantene Pro V ad in French, a black Pantene Pro V ad from BET from the early 2000s, like these little things to play was like, you know, like bring on the nostalgia to kind of like bring people to a different place.
Dope.
And you know, there's an album from Borden and 80 Rock coming out called Dead Prime Ministers. So I decided to have the sneak preview. So we had a sneak preview created by Long Life that was like, you know, so you start the movie, you have the sneak preview. And we had a Canadian heritage moment that I put together, and then the movie played, you know.
Got it.
Yeah.
Before going to that Canadian heritage, I want to ask you a question about Canadian heritage. However, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for 2 reasons. One is that when I saw that you created the album, I'm like, this guy set the standard for the city. Whether you want to accept it or not, I truly believe that you set the standard for both communities in order to understand, okay, that's how collaborations work and that's how we could move forward as a community. Second reason is when I saw that the album was in vinyl, I'm like, okay, you're bringing it back to the actual roots, and you also added some sampling. So it was just a purest form of like respecting the culture. So when it comes down to both reasons why I said I respect what you're doing, or even I thank you for that, what are you most grateful for after creating the album?
After creating the album or putting it out in the physical?
Even both, yeah. Creating and putting it out in the physical.
I feel like I made something historical when I put it in the physical. When it sold out in 4 days, like I made 200 copies, and it sold out in 4 days. And I feel like I really made something that was historical. Like, this is something that is now part of history.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like that before, and I don't know why. Well, I know why, but I guess the record being in the, you know, I don't know why the record is why. It is the reason why, but it just is. It's like it's the purest form of 20th century and 21st century archaeology. Like, it's, you can get so much from records, and they're not gonna like go bad if you have them in the right, you know. But having that, you know, I think that's something that really put a stamp on everything for me.
Got it.
And I felt like like that accomplishment moment, you know. Because I know you had mentioned, you know, you said you were gonna talk about the Canadian heritage.
Yes.
So like, you're about to mention it, but like
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, I put
See,
together.
you're ahead of your time, man. I told you, man. You're ahead of your time.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I decided to make a tape. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make a DJ tape, and I had done a few tapes before, like a tape with Widget, a Michael Jackson remix kind of DJ project tape, where I put, you know, Michael Jackson acapellas on hip hop beats, and so there was I made a couple tapes before, and then I said, you know what, I want to make a DJ tape, and I want it to be only Canadian hip hop on vinyl, and it's a mix, right? So 2 45-minute sides, and so that, you know, I made that, and I got the box, it got delivered, and I'm looking at the box, and I'm like, this is worth more, like this, I think there's more value to this than just this tape. And I embarked on making a book for the tape. So I made this book that was like a booklet, and every time you turn the page, it's like, you turn the page with the track changes, you turn the page, you see a picture of the vinyl that I used, who did the track, who produced the track, what machine they used to make their beats, what kind of MPC or whatever it is. You have a list of releases from the artist, just basic information, a little did you know, fun fact. And that took a lot of time. I had to get at all the artists across Canada and actually get this information because I wanted it to be complete, you know what I mean? So then I gave a lot more value to the tape, you know? It took some time to do that. Then once I had that done, and that was like, to me, like a cool thing, started to think outside the box, and I was like, you know what? I applied for grants before and didn't get them, but you know, I have a cool idea. Maybe there should be an encyclopedia for records, for Canadian hip hop records. So then it was, okay, let me develop this thing, this idea, and then present it to the Canada Council for the Arts. Because it wasn't something that they put out and they're like, hey, we're looking for somebody to do this. It was like, that's just my brainchild, or whatever you want to call it, you know? And so yeah, they accepted it, luckily.
Shit.
And for 6 months, that was my project, you know, of just working on getting my hands on as many Canadian hip hop records as possible, taking the same consistent photos, doing interviews. So there's a bunch of interviews that I did, tribute mixes as well, and try to have that all on the site, you know.
Dope, man.
And,
Congratulations.
And so, with that said, when I say that having my own record felt like I was doing something more historical,
right,
that's where that came in, you know, is the value that I saw, and the historical value that I saw doing the other project that I did, of getting, you know, seeing what went into like putting these records together from the 80s all the way until, you know, and the gap that happened in between, and how at a certain point CDs took over and online took over, and now it's coming back. It's like, yeah, we're coming back, and I'm definitely like, I'm there, you know. And all that has to do with, you know, because I knew you're gonna ask me about.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me just
Glad
group
you
these
touched
things
on
together, you know, because it all has to do with, you know, everything is everything, you know. One thing influences the other. So
That's it.
yeah.
And can you give us an example of a relationship or a moment in your DJ career that has changed your life? Like whether it was meeting a certain person or anything that happened.
Changed my life.
Yeah.
I was lucky to have some cool hip hop moments. One time, just like, yeah, I remember one time at McGill, DJing for a Jizza lecture.
Damn.
And Jizza's coming to do a lecture, and I got to DJ for that.
Okay. Wow.
That was kind of cool, and hand him his first album, not Liquid Swords, but the one before that, and him ripping off the plastic to sign that, you know. That, you know, things like that. Going to Toronto and opening up for Smith and Wesson, and Tech is just like, yo, like, thanks for holding it down, and it's just like, wow, like, you know, like just being close to hip hop and those little things, you know, and and there's so many, like I said, you know, Havoc and LES and Big Noid. And I'm forgetting things too. Like there's, you know, I should make a list of things because there's so many things that like I should, you know, it's really beautiful, man. Like the stuff that brings you. Like the most recent thing of like something that hip hop gave back to me was we're talking about doing all these interviews, and you know, so one of the interviews I had done was Butcher T, who's like kind of like the cool Herc for Montreal hip hop, one of the first guys to bring hip hop to Montreal. And for me doing that interview and other interviews, I got invited to McGill to go speak at a class and talk about hip hop history in Quebec, because it was basically like Black Quebec history that was the focus of this class, and I got invited that week to talk about the hip hop side of things from like up until like, you know, like 80s hip hop, because that's all we really had time for, you know. And then, you know, so every now and then the professor would interject and say, oh, this kind of has to do with what I showed you last week, or and then so one time she said, oh, this has to do with the footage I showed you from the first Cari Festa in 1974. And I was like, you know, let me ask about this after, you know?
Right.
Because my dad grew up beating pan in Trinidad and then moved here in 1967. So I'm
talking
like,
about
you know,
steel pan, by the way.
Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? I got to ask her about this footage. So I go ask her. And she's like, yeah, like I have it. I can't give it to you because it's archival and, you know, they have rights and everything. I'm like, cool. But she's like, I can show it to you. It's like, all right. So we're in the hallway after the class and she's showing me this footage. And I find my dad, man.
You serious?
I'm like, and it's like this 19-minute video.
Damn.
And she's talking to me and there's another TA talking. And I'm like, no disrespect to both of you, but I'm just going to be watching the screen and talking to you at the same time because I don't want to miss anything. And I'm just staring at the screen.
That's crazy, man.
And there he just shows up standing on a float, just jamming. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, you know, so and then I was able to take a picture of that and show, you know, this is before my mom even met him. It's like, you know, it's like to see my dad move in a black and white video. I was like,
damn.
And I never would have got that if none of, like, that's only possible, like, thanks to hip hop. You know, like, that doesn't happen without hip hop.
Facts, man.
I don't put myself in that position without DJing and interviewing and you know what I mean? So it's like, it's crazy. It's crazy how far it could take you and how the universe will just have your back if you do the right thing.
Right.
It's like, here you go. You're like, thanks, man. Thank you so much, you know?
You probably definitely felt the presence of God or even the universe once you saw that video. You're like, damn, that's...
Like, I didn't cry, but my eyes just watered because it was just like, and I'll say if I cry, I don't care. Like, you know, but I was just like, wow. And she was like, you can cry if you want. I'm like, I'm just amazed right now. I'm just like in shock right now. This is just a beautiful moment. Damn. And like, I even FaceTime my parents at that moment. I was like, look, like, you know?
Damn.
And we're on FaceTime.
Watching your father, what? Yeah. Now that's different. That's something,
and like, even my dad's homie next to him, like, oh, that's Brown Man, you know? Like, I'm just recognizing his friends, and, you know, it's like, and yeah, so I guess with, you know, talking throughout this interview so far, the thing that I could say so far, man, is like, you know, just do what's true to you, and a lot of beautiful things can happen from it, you know?
Powerful, yeah, absolutely. Now, what's the biggest misconception people have about DJs?
That we just press buttons. I talked about it, but for me, it's okay. I'm not able to. I come from a time where I'm not able to download this. I'm not able to, I can only tape it off of the radio or tape it off of somebody who has the CD or tape off of another tape. And that's how I'll have this music. If not, I have to go out and find it. And now if you want to DJ it, it has to be on vinyl. So the adventures to go out, you know, leave your house, go dig through records for hours, hopefully find something, go home with something. The money that you spend on that, the time that you spend doing that, and then the time that you work your craft. It's like, now that you have your instruments, your 2 turntables, your mixer, your speakers, your records, your headphones, your needles, all these things cost a lot of money and time to make the money. And it all goes together for this one mix, you know what I mean? And so that's like, and I'm not hating on, because I love how easy it is for, you know, for you to be able to show a 3-year-old, hey, you could do this, and then they could just pick it up. Like, that's a beautiful thing, man, you know? Like, so there's no hate. I'm just talking about my path. So a misconception is that, you know, you could just go and pick this up in 1 or 2 days. It's like, you know, there's years of admiration for music, and then years of practice that goes into this, you know? So when I'm out at a DJ set, a lot of the places I DJ at are made for the vinyl experience. So I'm there DJing records, and there could be different generations, and people are looking there like, what's this guy doing?
Right.
And then and I could see it. One person's like, huh? And then the person next to them, oh, and they're explaining the whole thing. And I'm there just like, okay, I just have to keep doing what I'm doing, because they're seeing this for the first time. This is crazy. So that is not necessarily a misconception, but the misconception is that it's only one thing. It's only like somebody on stage pressing a button, dancing and going like this, or like, you know, it's, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's that, and there's a whole lot others, you know? There's an acoustic guitar, there's an electric guitar, there's a this guitar, there's a that, you know? There's a guitar hero as well, you know? So it's like, there's all these different things that like make it up, but like, I guess the misconception is that it's only that, and you know.
Then you add the psychological, reading the room, and hey, that's different,
okay, I'm gonna do 7 hours of DJing now at this restaurant from 8 to 11. I gotta satisfy the people in this certain way because they're eating, and then from 11 to 3, I gotta go into a whole other bag and try to make sure I keep these people dancing. It's and I got to do it in my records, and I don't want to just play hip hop, and I don't want to just play funk and soul, or just play R&B. There's a lot that goes into that, and but if nobody notices, that's cool. I know, you know, like I know. I know what it took to do that, and like I'm proud of myself. You know what I mean? And if everything goes down, I'm still happy when I sit in my room and I have thousands of records and all these samplers, and that's important to me. You know what I mean? And like in the end, your sanity is more important than other people looking at you, and you know.
Trust me.
So whether people like, you know, at a certain point everybody was a rapper, everybody rapped, and now at a certain point everybody DJs. Or like they, you know, DJ for a week and now they're a DJ. So whatever.
That's it. Whatever floats your boat.
I don't care. You know, because no matter what, I'm still gonna do my thing.
That's it.
And hopefully I inspire while I do it. You know.
Speaking of which, what do you appreciate most about today's hip hop youth?
I kind of touched on it a bit before with like the fact that you could show a 3-year-old, or you know, like. The fact that things are so easily accessible. Coming from me, that might sound funny, but I have an appreciation for everything. I think that's amazing, because that's the step that's gonna lead you to other steps. You know, someone's gonna play Guitar Hero, then they're gonna actually want to play guitar, and they're gonna actually want to get this guitar. Oh, now I'm really good, so I want to get the same guitar as Jimi Hendrix, and you know, you know, but it flows. So like for me, it was like, oh, we could download songs now on Napster. Oh, I can get that one song. Oh, that's really good. Now I want to get the album. So just one thing leads to another, you know?
Got it.
And so if the youth, if it's so easy for them to make a beat, to record an album, to make a video, because they could just take out their phone and just bam, like, you got it easy. That's dope, because you can access that creative process a lot easier, and maybe a lot of you that wouldn't have accessed that creative side 20 years ago when it wasn't that easy to access it, maybe it pushed you to do so, and maybe you opened up a whole, you know, like a whole other portal that just brought you somewhere else, and it's thanks to that easy technology that you have right now, you know?
Perfect. I want to move on to the segment called If I Had the Chance To. So if you had a chance to sit down with a 16-year-old version of yourself, 16-year-old Pro V, what would be the first thing that would come to mind, or what would you tell that person?
Keep working hard and be happy. Like, do
Mm.
things that make you happy, and don't stray away from that.
Mm.
Cause yeah, man. I started thinking about me at 16.
Mm.
It's like not a lot different, you know, and not even to say it in a bad way, you know.
Right.
I think I already had a lot of my foundation down by that time. You
Being
know?
true to yourself.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, stay on that path, stay happy, and because a lot of things happen. You know, you got me thinking about all these different things that happen in life that you know can take away your motivation.
Yeah.
Or take away, you know what I mean, or take away your love for something.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Those roadblocks, those hurdles, those distractions. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
The world's a funny place, man.
Mm.
So it's like no matter what you see, just kind of like stick to your path, and yeah, man, family's important.
Absolutely. Now, what's your short-term and long-term vision at the moment?
Short term, since the recent record sold out in 4 days, I decided to make a repress. You know, it wasn't something I had even thought of prior to that.
Oh,
you know,
man, yeah.
so it's like, oh, let me just get these 200 records out. And when they were out in 4 days, I was like, all right, you know,
It's time to go for another round.
Do I go do a next record, or do I do another round of this? Because I feel like it wouldn't, because there's still people hitting me up to get this record. I didn't get a chance to really push it across the globe, like get it at record stores that actually mess with like real good hardcore hip hop, like, you know, the stuff that we make.
Right.
And I feel like I owe it also to like the artists that are on the thing to get the record out more. You know, we could just keep this a real exclusive thing, but then less people have it, and the world doesn't get to, you know. So I felt with all those factors playing, let me do a repress. Let me make some purple records instead of black records. So in the short term
Exclusive, man.
is me getting rid of the 200 records, you know. I already got a bunch, you know. Hopefully, you know, like probably like 40%, you know, out, but that other 60% gotta start, you know, getting that out when I get the records in like January or something. So that's my short term. In terms of the physical. In terms of music, got a lot of music, a lot of music in the works, especially with the people, you know, in Big Dogs Only, and others as well. You know, there's a lot of stuff that could potentially come out this year. I don't like saying things until they're like really there on the doorstep, you know, because but we could potentially drop a lot of things and drop a lot of records this year if things, you know, go according to maybe not the plan, but you know, if things move, you know, progressively.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
in the long term.
Yeah.
So long term would be like what, 5 years?
Yeah, at least, or even above 5 years. So short term, I would say 3 to 5, and then long term, 10.
Okay,
10
so
and
short
above.
term is get out as many records as possible. Keep doing this thing that I'm doing. Keep doing the radio. Keep doing my DJing thing, and keep putting music out, because there's something that you get from putting music out that you can't get anywhere else in life. You know, and that's just within, you know. I can speak for myself for that, you know, like that to me is a huge accomplishment. So that's why I say short term, I'm just going to keep doing that, because that's bringing something to me that I can't find anywhere else. And in the long term, it's funny to think that far ahead. In the long term, I would just like to look back and say that I didn't waste any time, because I could definitely say that I wasted time.
Right.
Even though I've done so much, you always feel like you know you could have done more.
Right.
So I guess in 10 years, I want to tell myself, like, yeah, look at everything you did. Like, you know, you really took advantage of like every single opportunity and experience and made the most of it. And because I don't, you know, what am I gonna say long term, like material things, it's not really motivating the, you know what I mean? So hopefully all that comes from, you know, in the long term I would like to just be living off of music very comfortably and living through my passion, you know what I mean? So if that happens,
on some Quincy Jones type shit.
Exactly, man. The guy made Michael Jackson Thriller at 50, so like, damn. I got some time to.
It's different.
You know, that's always a little thing that I kind of remind myself about. You know, is that like, you never. It's not an age thing. You know, it's just where you're at. You know.
Facts.
So, because look at Tupac, man. The amount of work that he did in the first. You know, he was 26, 25, 26, and it's like, come on, man. You know, like. That's something to say, like, you know, he could look back at the last few years of his life and be like, yeah, I didn't waste a moment, you know what I mean? So that kind of thing is,
got it.
Yeah.
And last question, how do you want to be remembered?
Part of this hip hop thing, man. Part of this music. I want to be remembered as somebody who made music better. Somebody who kept music alive, somebody who made music better. Whether it's my music or whether it's me pushing other people's music because I'm a DJ before that, right? You know, so that's important to me. And not just new music, and you know, anything you haven't heard is new music. So that's important to me.
You were an asset to this game.
Yeah, because if I look at myself, you know, we talked about me putting together an encyclopedia and me putting together a lot of, you know, some very influential music for the city.
Yeah.
So that's the pillar right there, you know. I just want to be remembered for that, I guess.
Dope, man. Hey.
Funny things to think about, man, you know. Like,
hey. Dope. Any final words? How do people could get in touch with you? Social media and whatnot. Feel free.
Final words. I said a lot. It all has to do with being true to yourself.
There's a lot of gems also.
Yeah, but you know, it all comes back to, you know, be true to yourself, and that's gonna bring you to a lot of places that you want to be at. You know, it's gonna bring you a lot of energy. Gonna bring you a lot of experiences, and that's all I'm speaking from experience. You know, that's what I could say so far. And be happy, man. Don't do things that don't make you happy, because your health is just gonna suffer.
Real talk.
And everything suffers from that. So, social media, pro-V. Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me here to talk about things that I would never normally talk about.
Hey, man.
That's dope. You know, it's a little bit of history, which you know, but then, you know, you're asking me some things that have me silent for a second, really like make me think before I open my mouth. And so I appreciate that, because even that is gonna, you know, even like because you sent me the email yesterday with a couple things, and I was looking at it like, oh man, like, I do not have the answer for this. I'm gonna sleep on it, you know. But I'm glad I read this before I went to bed, kind of thing, you know. Because yeah, and I appreciate that, because with those questions, you become very introspective about certain things, and that can help you as an artist as well. You know, if you're watching this or listening to this, like, ask yourself these same questions. It might clear up your brain a little bit. So respect you for that, bro.
Love is love,
Yo,
man.
Thank you.
I just want to say any final words for myself. Well, I just want, first and foremost, I appreciate what you're doing, man. Like, what you're doing is, like I said, setting the standard for the city, and just keep on keeping on, because I feel and I truly see it as it's your moment right now. So just keep on adding more value.
Thank you, man.
And it's just gonna get better as days goes and years goes by.
Appreciate that. And it's hard to see it from the outside in. So
Yeah.
when someone says it to you, it's much appreciated, you know?
Absolutely.
Respect.
Love.
Yeah.
There you have it. Another episode of Elevate the Mic, where we elevate the mindset and skill sets of individuals who are part of the hip hop community. Peace.
Had to get back on the phone. I told them don't play with my name cause I know that it rings. They want my spot at the top with the crown and they ask who's a rocket. I tell them it's me. I'ma always win.